On this episode of the Modern Travel Agent Podcast, I'm joined by Robin Lawther, the Vice President of Expedia TAAP. In our last discussion, Robin and I discussed luxury travel. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing the growing trend of mountain travel. Robin, it's great to see you again, and thank you for joining me.
Chris, thank you very much for having me back. And I'm very happy to come and talk about what is personally one of my favorite travel types, and hopefully share some good insights with the listeners to the podcast.
So I know, I think a lot of listeners as travel advisors, maybe they're comfortable booking beach vacations. Maybe that's their core competency. Why should they be paying attention to mountain travel?
Great question to kick things off. And for me, I think there's a couple of pieces, and this is all in the report that we put out there recently, but I think one of the headline stats that really struck me when I read through this is if you look at how much is spent on mountain travel, it's an $85 billion market, and there's 17 million US travelers engaging in this pursuit. Now, sometimes people put these really large numbers out there and they start talking in billions, and I sometimes switch off a little bit. But the key thing I think is, hey, if it's 85 billion or if it was even 50 billion, it's such a huge market that as an advisor, you need to capture just a tiny amount of that. And you're still talking about a huge addressable opportunity to go after. So that was kind of part one. The other thing that really struck me about this is a type of activity which is now not just spanning both the winter season, but is also spanning the summer season as well. And we can talk a bit about those differences as we go through. And then also the other stat that struck me is 53% of travelers weren't set on a destination at the start, which again, to me, strikes me as a great thing for travel advisors because it's a great way to get in there to shape the journey and destination and to show that you can add value. And I think this type of travel can also be more complicated as well. And more complicated, at least in my mind, gives another good reason as to why someone might use an advisor and how an advisor can demonstrate the value that they can add.
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting takeaways for me too, was that so many of them aren't locked in on their destination, and therefore agents can influence them. I think a big focus of our talk today is going to be based around Expedia Group's latest research report, Summit Seekers, which I'm going to be including the link to that in the show notes as well. I do recommend all advisors check it out. There's some great takeaways. To your point, I think one of the most interesting things I saw was many mountain travelers. I mean, we're taking 4+ trips a year.
Yeah.
Right. So the occurrence and the sheer amount, the sheer opportunity to have an impact was super impressive. What were some of the key takeaways in the latest research report?
Goodness, where to start on that? And I don't want to just reel off a whole lot of statistics. So I'll try and keep it brief, and then maybe we can dive into it in a bit more detail. I think first, as I called out, half of the travelers are not set on a destination at the start. So great scope for an advisor to shape where they're going, both domestically and internationally, and a pretty even split between domestic and international. Two, as you mentioned, people are taking 4+ trips a year. So this is a great source of recurring business of you're hopefully not just planning one vacation for them, but you're planning multiple vacations, and not just mountain vacations, let alone other travel that they might do alongside that. Three, there's a piece around kind of destination and what they're looking for as well. There's often a desire now, and we see this not just in mountain, but in other places, as to where can people escape the crowds? How can you find somewhere that is perhaps a bit more off the beaten path? How can you find somewhere where there's more scope for relaxation, space, being in nature? A lot of the things that come from why someone might want to go to the mountains. And then there's the question of, okay, well, where do these people actually stay when they get there? And we see about a third of travelers going to the mountains aren't staying in hotels, but actually want to prioritize staying in vacation rentals. It's a segment that some advisors are selling really well into today. It's a segment that some others I don't think have explored that much. And it's something that we are trying to do more and more to support our advisors through our TAAP program in providing them with that whole breadth of accommodation that travelers might want.
To your point, as far as the impact also of agents to influence the decision, I was super interested to see that most bookings happen within 60 days of the trip, which is also, sometimes they say the travelers aren't making a decision until 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
As agents, you always love when your travelers are booking and then traveling immediately, right? So that's a great opportunity there.
You for sure. And that sorry to jump in. That one,
No, of course.
it surprised me as well. I wonder, is there a little bit of it related to kind of related to the mountain aspect of it, particularly if we take the winter season? We've seen over the last couple of years, there's been some more variability in that winter season. A couple of years ago, we had, if you look across the US, the most incredible amounts of snowfall, so much snow that at times resorts were actually struggling because they had too much, which we didn't think would be a problem. And then a year later, you've got a challenge of people struggling with not enough snowfall. And so I do wonder, is there an element of travelers, particularly in some of these winter themed breaks, holding back a little bit to be more certain on when am I going to travel, where am I going to travel to, am I going to prioritize West Coast versus East Coast, something in between, or going internationally, depending on what they're actually seeing happening in the environment, which is so critically important to some of this stuff.
One thing I wanted to talk about too, which I found super interesting, was in the research report, it lists different types of sort of traveler profiles, right? Different ways sort of to think about not all mountain travelers as the same, right? To recognize the difference between maybe the luxury mountain traveler or the experienced athlete or the international traveler. What are some of the key takeaways that agents should be taking away from that sort of compartmentalization?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different pieces to it. I mean, I think kind of my takeaway number one is, and kind of as I started today, this is such a big market that there's so many different types of travel that as an advisor you can go after, and it can be tailored to what your agency is already supporting. So, for example, your agency is already supporting travelers that are primarily in the luxury space. Okay, well, there's a luxury space whenever they want to go to the mountains. If you're an agency that is supporting more kind of sports oriented or winter sport travel, there's a huge amount of demand for this space. And that sport-oriented travel is something that we're seeing growing more and more. And then there's everything in between of people that are perhaps looking for some winter sports, but also looking for other trips and experiences as well. And I think the thing that struck me about it is we're not just talking about kind of winter sports as we talk about mountains as we might have traditionally associated it, but that summer bit is becoming really strong and actually even strengthening. And when we looked at it, we looked at the average daily rate, or ADR, and we see ADRs for the summer are increasing at a faster rate than they are for the winter, reflecting the amount of demand that's now actually pivoting into that summer season as well. And so I think a good kind of watch out and call out for advisors to start maybe probing a little bit more with your clients to understand, okay, this person previously would have considered a beach destination in the summer. Actually, should I start to think about mountain destinations? Are there other things that they might be open to? Unique and different experiences that I can offer them. And to me, it kind of ties into this broader trend, which we've seen mentioned a lot, but I think we really now start to see it coming through, of people very much prioritizing experiences rather than necessarily prioritizing destinations, which again, as an advisor, gives you great scope to add even more value, because it's not somebody coming and saying, I want to go to X destination, please help me book it, but is coming and saying, I want to do this thing, can you help me figure out where and how to do it and the best way to do it? And I think the other bit about the mountain piece, and this is also speaking from personal experience, it can be more complicated as well. Often these locations, they're not rich in a huge number of high capacity hotels. It can be harder to find accommodation. There can be more variety in accommodation. Transport and access can be a bit more difficult. All of those things, I think, come together to create the almost perfect recipe for where an advisor can jump in and really add a lot of value to their clients.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's there's a lot of moving pieces, right? And sometimes that might be a little overwhelming for the traveler to do everything, or to be sure that the decision that they're making is the right one, right? Because a lot of times that's the opportunity that an advisor has. It's not just maybe to give them information or point them in the right direction, but it's that confidence that the money that they're spending is well spent, that they're making the right decisions, that people have analysis paralysis or decision fatigue. The more options, sometimes it can start to be a little overwhelming. And so having somebody in their pocket who says, okay, look, this for sure is the way to go, I think, as to your point, is a great opportunity for agents to create value and to earn the business.
Yes, absolutely. And back to that point of taking 4 or more trips a year, once you've done it once and demonstrated that value, hopefully these clients keep coming back time and time again. And then there's a whole plethora of different options available out there.
Every agent would love to have maybe to be the first point of contact. But the reality is that the market is different today. Travelers are doing research online. They're looking everywhere. They want to get an idea sometimes before they reach out to their agent or their advisor. This research report, it touches on it. But what are the main places that travelers are looking to do research online? Where are they doing their research? Where are they finding their information?
Yeah, and I think this won't be a surprise. I mean, the starting point to this is Google and the online travel agencies. That's where people first and foremost are starting. I would add to that, I think, as well, and we see this not just as we talk about mountain, but we talk about really all destinations, the role that social media and influencers are playing in this space as well, of almost, I'd say, wall-to-wall coverage of people promoting different and unique experiences, really all across the world. As it relates to this, though, Google and the OTAs is where people are principally starting. But linking back a bit to my comment from earlier, this is also, I think, quite a complicated space. And I think it is a more complicated trip type than necessarily some of the kind of leisure, city, or beach-oriented destinations. And so while I think many are starting online, there's a lot of time and energy needs to go into researching this, particularly if you're trying to tie it together with very specific activities. Those activities are going to vary based on the destination you're going to. Is it skiing? Is it snowboarding? Is it alpine or downhill skiing? Is it cross-country skiing? That's only starting to touch on the whole variety of things that you can do. And so I think it very quickly lends itself to a space where if travel advisors are building the right book of contacts, has the right book of business, and can take some of these learnings and start showcasing these to their clients, demonstrating that they know not just perhaps some of the traditional vacations they've been booking, but perhaps some of these other things that travelers are looking for, that they can get themselves inserted into that process, build credibility, show expertise, and hopefully start this cycle of people really thinking, okay, if I want to book this perhaps more complicated trip, an advisor is going to be my first point of call.
That's a great point, because I think that it's so often with advisors that you have your core area of expertise and you're maybe booking always the same type of travelers for your clients. They don't always necessarily know that you can book everything, right? They don't always necessarily know to come to you for a mountain trip. And so I think that's a great opportunity, as you point out, for agents to insert themselves, whether that's creating content online or it's an email newsletter or something on their website. It's a way just to make sure that they're visible. Their clients, their existing clients, not even new clients, their existing clients know that that's something that they can help them with.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the interesting things for me, at least over the last couple of years of speaking to a lot of advisors all around the world, a lot of advisors said, we don't actually need more clients. We've got so much business from our existing clients that we have a big enough book of business to work from right now. On the one hand, that's great. But my feeling is always, well, but what about with those existing clients? Are you supporting them with every trip? Is there more that you could do? Actually, is there more expertise that you could demonstrate to them and make them think about different things? Or maybe it's not even a case of selling more, but is also helping them understand what else is going on? What are trends that are happening in the broader market? People like to be on top of the latest trends and experiences. And it's a great thing for an advisor to be able to do, to come to their clients and showcase, hey, this is what's really, use a horrible phrase, hip and happening right now. This, and to really kind of show, like, this is what other people are looking at. Is this a trip type that you would have considered? And linked to that, I was reading a super interesting article at the weekend that The Economist had published about luxury. And they were talking about, in the world of luxury, a lot of places are seeing pressure on spend on luxury, particularly on goods. But where the luxury market is holding up really well and accelerating is on experiences. And so if you take high-end hotels, ADRs keep going up. If you take high-end destinations, prices keep going up. People are very much prioritizing experiences over actual things, which sort of links back to that as an advisor. How do you demonstrate to your customers, these are the latest trending destinations, these are the latest trending things that are happening? It's certainly something that people are placing tremendous value on right now. And it's just a great way for advisors to build credibility that they're on top of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's kind of undeniable to a degree that there is a status game at play with travel, right? Everybody wants to do the new thing. They want to do the different thing. And the beach vacation, it's great, but we've seen that play out. Right. We know what that looks like on social media. Maybe it's a little more oversaturated. And so there is that great opportunity with mountain travel. Agents, even if they don't need to grow their business, even if they're just trying to take advantage of their existing clientele, to get people talking about or posting about something that is different and new and I guess trendy in a
Yeah.
way that maybe can get longer vacations, more spend, more opportunities, let alone growing the business, more agents, more clients. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I think for agents that are thinking about maybe highlighting the growing trend of mountain travel, where should they start? I mean, like what is a great way for advisors to kind of make their clientele aware that this is an opportunity to do something different and new? And
Yeah, a couple of things. I think one at the most basic level is starting to do some research around this. We've just published this report called Summit Seekers. I'd encourage everybody that's listening to the podcast to check it out. It's a very, very quick and easy read. It'll give you the basics on what's going on right now. Number two, I'd say, is start talking to some of your clients about this. I'm sure there's many that are already serving mountain destinations to a portion of their client base. Start probing with others to get the vibe. Is this something that your clients are interested in, that they want to learn more about it? Assuming they do want to learn more about it, there's a plethora of resources out there. Through the Summit Seekers research that we have, we've got some links that will also kind of help with more information, generating marketing materials, things like that. And then one other thing that we as Expedia TAAP are always trying to do is we recognize that advisors are generally hungry and eager to learn as much as they can about the particular destinations that they're selling, about hotels that we have available. We will run very often webinars. These might be in conjunction with DMOs or hotels or other destination experts. And this is definitely something that we will look to do for mountains as a kind of thing and as a category. So look out for things that we will put out there that will kind of bring in the experts, provide more knowledge, understanding, education to just help equip advisors be in the best position possible to go and have those conversations with their customers and to be able to showcase their expertise and hopefully convert some of that into sales.
as an agent, you're only as good as your advice, and your advice is only as good as your knowledge. Right. And so that's such a great point to start with, educating yourself on the product and the growing trends, to talk to your clients, kind of become familiar with what they think. For agents that are looking to join those webinars or to be notified, what is the best place for them to make sure that they don't miss out on those opportunities to grow and learn?
Yeah, so if you're already working with Expedia TAAP, which I hope many of your listeners are, we will publish these webinars. We will publish news about these webinars very regularly, both through a combination of email blasts and notifications that will come up on our websites. Also, if we're working with some of the larger agencies, we might publicize the webinars through those groups, so it could be appearing on their Facebook feeds or other social media experiences. If you're listening to the podcast today and you think, oh, this is something I'd really like to do, but you're not working with Expedia TAAP already, I'd very much encourage you to join, as I would encourage everybody to. Very easy to join, expediataap.com, and you can sign up there, and then you'll get invited to all this ongoing series that we have, and we try and do these on as regular a basis as possible. It's been interesting in some recent times. I look at the attendance numbers and I think, wow, we've got 4,000 people signed up to this destination webinar. It's clear that there's real kind of hunger for information and experience, and not just like high level information, but really hearing from destination experts to put advisors in the best place possible to then close that sale with their clients, and not just close the sale, but deliver a really good experience as well.
One thing I love about Expedia TAAP as a platform, I mean, it's not just the functionality, it's super easy to use. You know, anybody who looks at the travel space as an agent knows that sometimes with different booking platforms, different CRMs, there's a lot of different moving pieces. It's not always the cleanest and most straightforward. So I love the platform. And I think one thing that I love the most is just the sheer volume of properties available to clients. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, especially when you're dealing with customers who have growing desires or needs that are more specific, right? It's starting to be more focused. And so to that point, what are some types of accommodations that agents should be paying attention to when it comes to mountain travel?
Yeah, and I think if we look at TAAP, I mean, it's one of our key propositions to have almost everything out there available for advisors. And right now we've got about 3 million properties that are available on the platform. And that splits really in two categories. We talk about hotels and everything that falls under that traditional hotel banner. It could be guest houses, B&Bs, others. And then we talk about vacation rentals. And for most of your listeners based in the US, will very much know the Vrbo brand, and we pull in all of those Vrbo listings as well. What we see through this research is it's a bit of a mix. Traditional hotels very much still out there. Over 55% of travelers still want to stay in a traditional hotel in the mountains, but perhaps they're looking for something a little bit different than a traditional hotel in a major city. Perhaps they're looking for a slightly smaller hotel, a hotel that might make them feel more connected to where they are versus a 500 or 1,000 room hotel that you would find in New York City. And of course, the amenities and things that come alongside that, how easy it is to access, how easy it is to access the properties with equipment, what other things does it have for the winter, like saunas, hot tubs, swimming pools, things like that. And then on the other side, there's about 30% of guests moving to the mountains that don't want to stay in traditional hotel accommodation, very much want that vacation rental or kind of unique home experience. And there we got about 2 million across the world, different types of homes to offer, from small, pretty standard houses to mega villas or mountain retreats, to really span that full spectrum. And that's, again, it's maybe not unique to mountains, but we see often travelers going to mountains want to go on group vacations with groups of friends or multiple families that want to take part in these events together. And so I hope that really, regardless of the crowd you're trying to cater to, we'll be able to offer accommodation types that you can book through Expedia TAAP cleanly, simply, and easily to really cater to all of those different travelers.
So I guess just before I let you go, I just wanted to do a quick recap for the agents that are listening to draw more attention to this. $85 billion in overnight trips to mountain towns last year. That's a huge opportunity and a great segment. It's a great opportunity for them to start. If they're not registered with Expedia TAAP, to do that immediately. If they are, to pay extra close attention to webinars, learning opportunities, to go into the show notes, click the Summit Seekers link, make sure you review all the data. There's some beautiful takeaways, of course, from that. I think some of the biggest things that I was interested to see was to talk about the different segments, which we discussed a little bit, because I do think that as an agent or an advisor, you do need to tailor your messaging to your client, right? And a sports traveler isn't necessarily the same as a mountain traveler or luxury traveler, or a couple's trip isn't the same as a group trip or a friend vacation. So all that information is in there. After agents have done that, after they're registered with Expedia TAAP, they're starting to do the research and become familiar. What should they do looking forward?
I think I kind of split it into one. If this is a segment that you're interested in, read the report, educate yourself about it, start talking to your current client base, understand what they're looking for. And look out for more opportunities coming from us to learn more and to help build your knowledge and expertise in this space. And then step two, I'd say from Expedia TAAP standpoint more broadly, this is a tool and platform that we are investing continuously behind, and we talked a little bit about that the last time I think I was on the podcast. Look out for more things coming from us through the course of the rest of this year. I've been really amazed to see kind of the continued growth we've had this year, to see how buoyant the market is, to see how much demand there is for travel advisors and the services provided by travel advisors. It's really been a very positive year for the industry from what I've seen so far. And so this is a space that we keep investing more and more behind. You'll see more of that coming. And as always, one of the things that we want to do is we want to be as accessible as possible to anybody that is out there in the market. Our team is out there all the time at trade shows and events. We're running webinars and other things so you can learn more from us. But we're always available if advisors need support. You can find all the contact details for our teams on the site. If you need more help education, one of my team can jump on a call or a Zoom or whatever and do that with you. So just let us know where you need help, and we'll make sure to jump in and help where we can.
Robin, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Chris.